of water. So what you get is what you put in. Therefore, as you sow, so you reap. So the yajna bhava karma is when we plan. Most of us are trained and tuned to think. Our conditioning is so deep that we think very individualistically that I, me, myself, and the best out of this opportunity or successes and accomplishment for myself. In that, we seldom take into account that when I am depending so much for my success from this entire system that I am existing in as a part of, that giving back to that system for its healthy sustenance is also a part of planning. When such entire communities come together in an act of giving, then I don't think there is a scarcity or a scare for taking care of senior citizens or various projects that can be done for the betterment of the community, because every person in the community is a contributor rather than somebody who is taking it away from the community. The one community in very recent history that we can see has stood by this, I should say, is the Sikh community, Sardarjis. We make such fun of them. Like we have blonde jokes or Scottish jokes, we have Sardar jokes. And some of the best of those jokes were told to me by Sardars. And one I remember told to me by a Sardar, it said, Swamiji, this you would not have heard. I said, what? Two Sardars were playing chess. And he stopped. I said, that is a joke. I said, come on. And I said, no, no, it is a series. It doesn't end there. And then two more Sardars came and said, chal yaar, doubles khelte hain. Let's play doubles. So we poke fun at them. But if you look at that community, wherever they are, I am yet to find who would stand on the street begging for a livelihood. Go through Punjab, you will not find a single Sardar as a beggar. Because the community is so strong that every person back to that community. And if there is a family which is caught in the middle of their life and there is a crisis in their life, they can go back to their Gurudwara and the Gurudwara takes care of them. It provides for them until they get a substantial foothold to restart or jumpstart their life into a meaningful direction. One can gather, and you don't need a socialistic or communist or a capitalistic environment to bring that. It's just the humanitarian ground that you think of what you are reaping from this society and give it back to that society as a part of your act of planning. And this act is called the Yajna Bhava Karma, the attitude of gratitude with which we work in our day to day. And the same thing is explained in the next shloka. And the reason why it is chanted before taking any food, to thank everyone that may have directly or indirectly been the cause for that food to come onto our table, and to thank them in an attitude wherein we are reverentially taking them to the standard of revering them as God himself. Brahmarpanam, the one who is offered all their efforts to bring that opportunity in front of us is nothing but that divine, that Brahman. That who is partaking it, which is me, is also that divine who is taking the share in that which has been contributed. But if you look at the words, the example that has been taken that this shloka is spinning around is probably in those days the Yajna Karma was quite popular, the Havan Yajna. So the Yajna evoked is that Brahman. The food that is offered in is also Brahman, and the results that there are that it yields is also an expression of that Brahman alone. So when we look at it from that attitude, one thing that it immediately gives wherever there is trupti, there is a scope, there is a hope, there is a chance for peace and happiness. Because the restlessness starts with asantrupti. Asantrupti, we are not pleased with the existing circumstances. Therefore, we are restless and agitated. And how do you remove that? By gaining this mental stability or attitude. And say, oh, but the world is so competitive, cutthroat. Let's start small. We are all the building blocks of the same society that we live in. If through this effort of Chinmay Mission, if I am able to reach about 600-700 families and they understand this and apply in their day-to-day life, looking at them, there are others who will implicitly follow. Though your children may not agree or may even vehemently oppose when somebody says you exactly look like your dad or your mother, or you exactly do like your mother, they may resist, they may even react saying, no, I'm not. As if I don't have my own individuality. You have to always compare me to my parents. But inherently, silently, whatever the parents set as a standard and live by, they are adapting themselves, that being their standard. And they'll start implementing it. Therefore, Gurudev used to say, it seems a little harsh on men, but he used to say that if a man changes, an individual, but if a woman changes, it is the entire family that changes. So, mothers, a huge responsibility on your shoulders. That does not cut any slack for the men sitting here. At least to disprove what Gurudev said, saying that, no, we are integral part and we will bring that change. Good. That should be the spirit. I say, oh, Gurudev said it. No, I don't need to change. I can exist in my own state of complacency. That was not the purpose. And how does this Yajna Bhava spread across in various kinds of activities? Of activities which are listed out. So I'll give a brief explanation of all these activities as we go through the shlokas. So please repeat after me. The next shloka. Daivameva yajnam yoginah paryupasate brahmagnavapare yajnam yajnenaivopajuhvati. And if you look at these various methods, it is not like one day, one book, one God, and make the entire process simpler. But there are so many mindsets and so many differences that we come in from, that these mindsets are varied. And catering to all these different mindsets, different steps are pronounced. That people for this kind of a bent of mind, they can use this method in their life. So what are the main two prominent categories? So different kinds of worshipfulness. There are those who very easily can attune themselves, fine tune themselves to a particular form of God. Like, for example, do this experiment with me. Yes? Okay, good. I'm glad you believe me. Because nobody said no. First tell, then we will think. Good. Please sit straight. Close your eyes and follow the instruction. Very simple instruction. Of God, what comes into your mind or who comes into your mind? As they come into your mind, think of 5 of them. Top 5. Your BFFs, personal favorites. Okay, open your eyes. So let me front row for your top 5. Light. What color? Okay, light. Illumination. Uh, uh, no. Oh, Guru Nanak, Guru Granth Sahib. All the gurus, starting from Guru Nanak. Okay. A true Telugu person. Cannot avoid Balaji. Okay, let me see. Gujarat pattern. Am I in the corner? Yeah. Good. Uh, the gentleman way back there. Last row. Yes. Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara. All male dominant. Where is the feminine form? Anyway, those are the top 3 for you. Amma? Huh. Super. Her choice was there was complete blankness. There was no form, no name. So if you look at various variations here, there are some who can be drawn very distinctly or very easily towards a particular form, a name and a form. Who probably will blank out, or some who will say illumination or light. So these are classified into 2 categories. Whoever be the name and form, such name and forms are called saguna sakara. Guna sahita saguna, meaning that which is with attributes and qualities. Saguna means attributes and qualities. Sakara with a distinct form. So when you say Lord Ganesha look like, we were young and we would be taught these bhajans. There were some which were very funny bhajans, and this one was on Ganesha. I'm sure many of you must have heard it. And it is like Kamo bulking stomach Ganapati. Have you heard of it? Son of Lord Shiva Parvati. You have a a trunk and two big. Was when do we worship you? You are the Lord of when you have to give an exam. Oh Lord Ganesha, please get exams. Favorite. Think of God. Next time onwards, I'll be sincere. So there is a form. There is like he has this elephant head with a tusk and a trunk and these two big ears and a big bellied, pot bellied. And I used to always wonder that huge size, how would he be riding on a little mouse? And one day I got this idea that maybe the mouse is like his skating board. That he stands on it, balances, and then the mice goes all over the place. My imagination. He could be using it in any which way. The mouse could have been really big, the bigger kind one. So this is the description, Sakar. Then somebody said Hanumanji. How does Hanumanji look? Tulsi Das ji describes him. He says, Lal deh lali lase arudhari lal langur. So he is in the form of langur, meaning a monkey form. But how is he? He is like the redness which is just of the sunrise. And he looks that kind of a glowing red color. If you go into Hanuman Chalisa, then there is a huge description of Hanumanji as to who he is and what are the different aspects of his form. And then he talks about various qualities of his form. One thing that stands out in my head when they talk about his qualities, that he is always worshipped as Vimala Jasha. In Hanuman Chalisa it comes that he is always of Vimala Yasha. His fame is blemishless. So when we read through Ramayana, there are various names, various characters in Ramayana. And the most important one is Ramji and Sitaji. Right? And we of Kali Yuga have the audacity to point fingers at even Ramji and Sitaji. We don't spare them. Right? We talk as if we are the most eligible ones to point fingers at. It's questionable, but we do have the audacity to, why did Rama do this? Why did Sitaji do this? There's one person in the entire Ramayana that you look at his entire life, there's hardly anything that you can point finger at. That Hanumanji did this thing less or this thing more or this thing unnecessary or this thing was righteous or unrighteous. You cannot point finger at him. He has lived such a beautiful, blemishless life. And the reason he says is because he is Jnana Guna Sagar. What is his profound strength? That he is Jnana and Guna Sagar. Most of us focus on Jnana Sagar. Learn, and acquire a lot of wisdom and knowledge. Now, how many times don't we see in the media that there are people who have been well read, supposed to be well meaningful people, but over the period of time do something very stupid, very dumb things which are not righteous, and time catches on with them and they are exposed. Various schemes and scams that they are entrapped in. Because along with jnana, what is required is guna. And he is that character who is abundant with both jnana as well as guna. The banks of that jnana, if the jnana is the river, the banks of that jnana river is the guna, which keeps it rightfully directed on the right course. So these are the qualities. So here he says, Daivameva pare yajnam yoginaha paritaha upasate. In today's Sanskrit or Hindi, we call it as bhakti. But in the ancient literature, bhakti was often referred to as upasana. The word upasana can be divided into two parts. Upa asana. Upa means closest. Asana, seating oneself. And this did not mean a physical proximity. That you go to the Lord's altar and sit closest. Though at many temples wherein there's a lot of crowd, we do want to do that one way or the other, but that is not what is meant. That what the altar is standing for, those qualities and those virtues, we invoke those qualities in us, and thus thereby getting closest to the ideal that Lord of our heart stands by. This is one meaning of upasana, getting closest to that ideal. The second meaning of it is, it's more technical. We will be dealing it more in the 12th chapter of Bhagavad Gita when we talk of bhakti. But here I'll mention it, that upasana means nikrushta vastuni utkrushta bhavaha. When you look at it as a material, it is a mere matter. Like you have, say, a beautiful portrait of, I don't know if I've given you this example earlier. There was this business executive, and he was in some talks with his, for a merger, and it was getting a tough merger. Things were getting really haywire, and that day's meeting was very prolonged and tiresome. So in the evening, he went to the local restaurant and ordered for food. And meanwhile, his colleague, who also happened to be in that restaurant, he said, "Hey, may I join you?" And as he asked, he found his boss, pulling his wallet out and looking at his wife's photograph. And the colleague said, "That's so sweet of you, man. When going is getting so tough, and you pull out your wife's photograph, it shows how much you love." So very nonchalantly he says, nah, nothing of that sort. I keep her photograph and I pull it out often, that if I could stay with her and put up with her for 30 years, anything in life is possible. I can get through anything in life. And however it was inspiring for him, when you look at a photograph, even the Devi Devatas and the portraits and other things, they're not even photographs, right? So what are they? They are like paper. If you look at it from the material standpoint, it's paper smeared with few patterns of colors on design, that this emerges out. So from the material standpoint, it is nothing but paper and colors. But when you look at those paper and that particular pattern of paper and color, it invokes a different environment in our heart. Through that, which is just a paper, it invokes something sublime, something divine, something sweet in our heart. So that attitude. So once Vivekananda was in the Kerala area, or was it in either it was in Trivandrum or it was the king of Madurai, one of those kings. He was the host and he was hosting Swami Vivekananda, and over the dinner he said, I don't believe in all these gods and rituals and such things. And Vivekananda didn't want to contest there, while eating food, because the kings will get angry. Whatever food is there, that also will be snatched away. So he just kept quite focused, single pointed. Finished his food, and they got into the living room. There was a beautiful portrait, a life-size portrait of the king's father. And Vivekananda appreciated that painting. And the king was so pleased that he was appreciating his father. So, he said he called his prime minister and asked somebody to pull that portrait down so that the Swami can have a closer look. And the portrait was pulled down to a viewable angle. And then the prime minister was standing there. He said, he has a resemblance. I'm guessing this is his father. He says, yes. And then suddenly Vivekanandaji asked something very peculiar. He says, would you kindly please spit on this portrait? The king was livid, and the prime minister was shocked, and the people who had helped him pull it down were like, what a crazy Swami is this? How dare he even say this? And then I said, why are you all looking at me so weird? I just asked you to spit on it. He again reiterates it and said, this Swami is really gone crazy. How dare even you ask me to spit on my royal king? So he looked at that present king and he said, which part of this is your king, your father? Is it the paint? Is it the canvas? Is it the wood that it has been intricately carved and framed in? Which aspect of it is your father? Nothing of this material is actually your father. But looking at that space, that environment that it takes you in your heart, is of your memories of your father. That sanctity within that you reach. Similarly, when you go to a altar of worship, when you look at that form, irrespective of what religion that we follow, that as soon as we get to that altar, what do we all invariably do? In deep prayer, we close our eyes, don't we? We go to that altar and then close our eyes. Sometimes it is very hilarious, especially when you go to temples like Sabarimala or Tirupati or Vaishnav Devi. You put in a tremendous effort through all the queue and the people around and everything. So much so that in places like Tirupati, hardly you get few moments, 10 seconds, or not even that. So in that 10 seconds, what do? Close your eyes. Then if all that it takes is closing your eyes, wherever you are, close your eyes. Why do you need to put so much effort, reach there, and then go through the chaos of all the public, and then reach there instead of any sacred mantra? The only mantra that is happening in Tirupati is Jargandi, Jargandi, Jargandi. Like, move forward, pushing and shoving across. And in all that we are focusing is to close our eyes. Why do we close our eyes? Has it not ever been, as a thought occur that, isn't it strange that I put so much effort to come see the Lord, and in that few seconds that I get to see that Lord, all that I do, I'm closing my eyes. I should in fact be seeing Him thoroughly, and then I can get outside and close my eyes how much ever I want. Like, though you're seeing that murti out there, through that murti, the place that you're connecting is within, to that divinity within, to the core of our own being. It's like, looking yourself at a mirror. Do you look yourself at a mirror? Yes, right? I know it is a very silly question, but please answer. Do you look at a mirror? And what do you do? As the case may be, whatever may be the case, right? So when you stand in front of the mirror, what are you looking at? Simple question. There is no trick involved in here. When you're standing in front of a mirror, what are you looking at? Though you are looking at a reflection, what you are actually seeing is yourself through that reflection. And when you start putting on things or correcting things, do you do it on that reflection on yourself? Where do you do the beautification process. Do you do it on the mirror? Where do you do it? On yourself. Similarly, the altar provides us that mirroring image through which we connect to our core within. Daivameva pare yajnam. So the altar of worship is that pointer which takes us straight to that core within. There are some who can easily tune themselves through a form and a name. And then there are those Brahmagna Vapare Yajnam, those who find even these forms and names very distracting. All that they seek is close their eyes and be in that silence within. There is no form, there is no name, just pure silence. I would call it awareful silence. Because sometimes we reach silence but provide sound for everybody around us. That is called sound sleep. You sleep but provide sound for everybody around you, snoring away to glory. Now, I'm not talking of that silence. I'm talking of the awareful, vibrant silence wherein you are awake, you are alert, and you are awareful. But there is absolutely no disturbance or distraction happening in the inner sanctity of your own heart. That is called Nirguna Nirakara. Nirguna Nirakara, that which does not have any attributes, that which does not have any form, that which does not have any qualities, but it is intense silence within. And then there are those of us who fight. Which of these methods is a better method? Which one is the superior one? The one with the form or the one without the form? The question is, which one of it takes you easily closest to the core of your own being? Whichever be it. This is not a competition, this is not a comparison and evaluation in that comparison. But what takes you closest to that sanctity within? Whatever. If it works, apply it to reach there. Isn't it? But there are people who have debates. They're called Vada, Vada Prativada. Saguna Sakara is greater or Nirguna Nirakara is greater. So in a Shiva temple, there was this argument happening and the arguments went over time and overboard. And I said, we'll come back tomorrow and finalize this once and for all. So the Nirgun Nirakaris came in, the Saguna Sakara did not come, and they were all so riled up that they wanted somebody to argue with. And they found the priest. And I said, you tell us whether Nirgun Nirakara or Saguna Sakara, which one is greatest? So in his own little simplicity, not that he understood those logic behind the debates, he said, you come in with your own different kinds of strategies. If you can comply with my strategy, then I'll debate with you. The simple thing is, you put that Nirgun Nirakara on my head, I'll put my Saguna Sakara on your head. Whoever survives is the winner. His point was, I'll throw Shivalinga on your head. If you survive, then you are the winner. Throw that Nirgun Nirakara. Point is neither Nirguna nor Saguna. What is it that takes you to that core of your own being, the fastest and the most easiest? So there are those two processes, Daivameva pare yajnam, Brahmagna vapare yajnam. I have been to Assam, Sikkim, in these areas. Though it is now predominantly Christian dominated, I found very unique temples there. Of course, Assam is famous temple is Kamakhya temple, Devi temple. But other than that, there are some very unique temples. And this one temple that stood out was, it was called the Bhagavat temple. So in that temple, there is no murti, there is no form. Just the book, Bhagavat book, is what is worshipped. So every day, the entire village comes there and they read out a chapter and discuss on that, and that book they give arati, and that is their altar. There is another unique temple in Kerala. It is called Pranava Mandiram. It was installed by Narayana Guru, and he wanted to get a message, and people were fighting. Even here, when we build these temples, they come with all the South Indians want these statues made of granite. All the North Indians want the statues made of marble, and they squabble and fight with each other, and it's almost to a point wherein they want to split up and create two different temples. So when they come to me for advice, I give them a different solution. In Hindi they say, "Saam bhi mare aur lathi bhi na toote." I said, the best, don't go for either marble or for granite. Let us have Panchaloha. Introduce a third element and remove the debate. How does it matter what material that God is brought in? You worship, they will fight. What matters is, does it take you to that sanctity within? And how intensely and how quickly can you get across all these limitations to connect within? Daivameva pare yajnam, brahmagna vapare yajnam. Then going further into the classifications, the next shloka, please repeat after me. Shrotraadinindriyananye. Okay, open the page where the shloka is. Are we all there? 26th shloka of 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Okay, now we will repeat. Shrotraadinindriyananye. Is it that difficult to pronounce this? Shrotraadin Indriyananye. Shrotraadinindriyananye. Samyamagnishu juhvati. Shabdadin vishayananye. Indriyagnishu juhvati. Then there are those who very intensely create a self-disciplined pattern wherein the organs of perception action are under their absolute control. They are in perfect balance, and they strive for maintaining that balance, that through their organs of perception action, they do not get distracted with any situation that they are put in. Like when Arjuna was asked, as were the other Pandavas and Kauravas were asked, to shoot the bird. You know the story, right? Dronacharya creates this test and asks them to take an aim. It's one of the first lessons being examined for. So the Kauravas all fail, Pandavas come in, even Yudhishthira fails. Bhima, I remember the description very well in the Vyasa Mahabharata. Bhima goes into an elaborate description of the pasture and the mountain and the sky, blue sky, and the forest and the tree, and then Drona says, I have asked you to aim, not to give your poetry. You are on a wrong task. And it is only the great Arjuna, when he was asked, what do you see? He said nothing other than the eye of the bird. Absolutely undistracted. Sometimes, have you watched the basketball games and such games in the arena? Like the AA Center here, American Airlines Center. The first time I had seen, then it's when I started appreciating, because seeing it on the TV doesn't give the entire picture. There were 30,000-40,000 people in that stadium, and it's not like Wimbledon game wherein one side one fellow scores and everybody is clapping, and then they announce silence please, and everybody pinned up silence. Here, even if a big thing is thrown there, the whole sound will not be even heard. People are crazy, yelling, shouting, and they have those sound making distractions, those tubes and the clappers and 30,000 people yelling. The first time I had gone to see that match, it was a match between Mavs and Spurs. So I was a little confused because they were all supposed to be Mavs fans, and they said, "Go Mavs, go!" I said, "Yeah, kaun si team hai? What kind of fans are you asking them to go away?" And then the kid who was saying, "Swamiji, it is not that way. It is like encouraging them. Go for it. Take a shot." But cut short that and they say, "Go." I thought, "Jao, you're not good at it." So the fans are screaming and shouting. On the top of that, there is a commentator who is yelling into a 50,000 watt system. On the top of that, there is that the bass sound. What's the song? We Will Rock You. Duk, 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 that, and all the glitter sound and all the flashy things happening. And in amidst that entire chaos, that fellow has to shoot a 3-pointer. He is like dribbling the ball, looks at the hoop, dribbles the ball, looks at the hoop, and you're like saying, "Come on, will you?" To bring themselves to that focal point wherein nothing of this nonsense that is happening around distracts them, that come what may, not the sound, not the the weather or the climate or the environment, nothing impacts them. All that they see is the ball and the hoop. And sometimes there's such a precise shot. I'm sure you have seen it on the TVs and there is like 3 seconds left. He's on the half court and he's picking up the ball and he's just dropped it, and there are like 1 more second and it just hits that, and it's like halfway across, and it's like perfect drop. What kind of perfection wherein nothing of this distraction ever bothers them? Has it ever happened that you are so engrossed, focused on your work that you forgot that it was your lunchtime? Very rarely. But when that kind of a situation does happen and you come to the solution, at the end of it, isn't there immense satisfaction, Trupti? So to have that balance, that I'm not distracted and focus on that task alone, wherever, whatever task, however big or small, is called this yajna of balancing the organs of perception and action, so that we are successful and accomplish that which we have tasked ourselves towards. We'll proceed further with the other next week. ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ